I'm not going to say, oh, I've eliminated processed food completely, because I'll tell you right now, if we go downstairs and you said your wife is making some, I'm going to have a cookie.
Woo! Let's go. Welcome in, newest episode, 1 Degree Podcast. I'm Tyson. That's Kenny. Special guest, Dr. Juan Bautista.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you coming in. Athlete, not just doctor, athlete.
Yeah, ex-athlete. Washed up, but I'm
washed up. That's why we got the helmet.
That's right, the old helmet here.
The Fit MD.
That's right.
Fit MD. So,
and I didn't give myself that name. It was actually one of my previous employees. She did all my social media. She goes, Dr.B Fit MD. And it just stuck.
Well, yeah, because everybody sees you on Instagram working out, boxing, jiu-jitsu, athletic performance. Right. You still train like an athlete.
I try. I'm a big believer that's, I do longevity medicine or anti-aging medicine. Keeping you healthy is pushing yourself, right? If you only do things in life that you're comfortable with, you never really grow. So I'm doing a half marathon. It's probably not that healthy for you, but it's definitely healthy for your mind.
Mentally too,
you got it.
Yeah. And that's a big thing that's kind of coming back a little bit now with, people like you, people on Instagram and TikTok that are kind of pushing, kind of like mental health to where if you're strong mentally, you can get over things that you think that you're sick or you think that you have a little cold, and like mentally, if you're mentally tough, you're not really going to have issues if you're kind of mentally weak sort of a thing.
Absolutely. The mind, as you guys know, being an athlete, plays it's a major contributor to your overall health as well. If you tell yourself every day, that I'm sick, you're going to feel sick. As a matter of fact, Coach Baxter, remember in football, he used to make us in academics, would make us sit in the front, and he said, just act like you're interested. Eventually your body doesn't know the difference, and it's actually true.
100%.
Crazy Baxter story was this might have been around your time too. He asked all the receivers in the room before the season even started. He was like, hey, how many games do you think we're going to win this year? And all the receivers were like, like some of them was like, we're going to go undefeated, and some of them were like, I think we're going to go like 10-2. He was like, which games are we going to lose? And he goes, this one and this one. And they're like, all right, you're not playing that game. Because like if you go into it thinking you're going to lose already, then you're like you're out of it. And I remember hearing that, I'm like, I would never say that ever again, like that I'm ever going to lose.
And he was the wideout coach.
Wideout coach at the time, I think, or tight end coach or something like that. One of those,
Oh, that's important, and that's one of the things, even for students that are taking people that are listening that want to become nurses, doctors, lawyers. When you're sitting down and taking a test, a lot of people get lost getting nervous. Right, they stay up late and study. I get all my students that I tell they're studying until 2-3 in the morning. So no, you need to treat this like a sport. That's why athletes do such a great job. I'm a huge proponent for athletes applying to law school, medical school, because they've dealt with this type of adversity, but also mentally tough.
And that's one thing I like respect about you a lot is you practice what you preach.
Appreciate it.
Because we go to like these other doctors or whatever, and these old white guys or whatever it is, where it's just like they're out of shape and they're telling you need to do this to make your body better. I'm like, why are you telling me this and you're not living it yourself, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's one thing I do really like appreciate about you is that you kind of you put your money where your mouth is.
I appreciate it.
And
he's
it's really
the example.
Cool. He's the example, right?
He doesn't just tell you what to do. He shows you. That's why I literally will say that's the only doctor that I'll ever go to. Like go to him, and then if he's like, hey, you need to go see this specialist or this specialist, I'll do that, because there's a big thing going around now. Just like how I was talking about, doctors are kind of being more into fitness, into their nutrition and the recovery, to where they see the benefits. Most doctors for the last 20-25 years went to medical school, learned what medicine, what drug you're supposed to give a patient when they come in for this, versus treating why they had that in the first place.
Absolutely.
So if somebody comes in to see you, one of us, Kenny, like, hey man, I'm not feeling this. Well, how did we get here? And then we can fix this in the meantime, whatever it is, if it's an issue that we can fix. But it could be your lifestyle, it could be treated with just diet and exercise, and then your mind starts to change, and then you're like, wow, like I feel great. What was wrong with me the whole time?
Absolutely. Well, the body has an amazing ability to heal itself, given the right environment and the right messages. And I think medicine, I'm traditionally trained, it still has its place, especially for acute injuries, right? If right now you have this major fracture on your leg, absolutely, you want to go get that thing stabilized and splinted and whatnot. certain types of cancers, things like that. But for chronic care, we'd be foolish to say that nutrition, exercise, mental health isn't important, right? As basic as diabetes, right? We know that diabetics don't heal well. Why is that? Because the message is clouded, hyperinsulinemia. So my job as a physician is, I'll never be 23 again, but I want to be the best 43 I can be. I always brag about my father and my mother, 69 years old, both of them not on any medications other than exercise, nutrition, and a little bit of supplementation with vitamins and things like that. So I'm a huge fan of it. And my mom's a diabetic. She went to her doctor. I'm her doctor that doesn't get paid, right? She went to her doctor, not bad mouthing her, but they said, no tortilla, no bread. And she was like, oh man, what's going to go? It's like, no, it's not about that. It's about decreasing the amount, walking, making, choices of decreasing processed foods. Now her hemoglobin A1C, which is a measurement of your blood glucose for the last 3 months, is better than mine. It's not even like a diabetic. You can say she cured herself with nutrition, exercise, and a mindset. And I love to treat my nutrition and exercise the way I treat work, right? Monday through Friday morning, we take care of our body, we work. Friday night, if Kenny says, let's go get some pizza, absolutely. Saturday, go to taco truck, let's do it. But back to work when it comes Monday, so.
I love it. That's huge for us. What about the fasting thing? Kenny, I finally got him on the fasting because I kind of learned about it a few years ago. When I was doing rehab for a Tommy John. I had a lot of free times on my hands. I did like all the recovery and all the rehab for 6 to 8 hours a day. And then I was just in my hotel room. Right. Or we'd go out to eat. So I'd be researching stuff, talking to our head trainers and all that stuff about this. And they're like, yeah, basically they explained to me that when you're not eating, or they said, first of all, breakfast is named breakfast because you break your fast. So you break your fast at any time. And if you think about it, when you're not eating, your body doesn't have to digest all the BS that you put into it. So now it can heal the rest of its body, like the rest of your body. So when you're not eating, you're actually in like kind of like a recovery state. Is that true?
There's multiple things that go on with fasting. And I think the first thing is, when it comes to weight loss, the data shows it's not very good, right? So it's really not the best for weight loss, right? You still want you go fast, and then all of a sudden you get into your eating window and you're eating donuts and processed food, not going to lose weight. It's a caloric equation. Yeah. Fasting was actually created more so for inflammation. And so what happens is when you're in a fasting state, so meaning you're not eating, like you said, one of the biggest, as we get older, that if it affects our healing is insulin. Hyperinsulinemia. You'll see people get dark necks, skin tags, sugar, right? And so when insulin is high, there's a couple of things that happen. The first thing studies out of Japan showed are stem cells, because we all have stem cells, right? Right now, if you cut me with a knife, in a couple of days, that wound heals up because my stem cells send messages to heal it. Well, we know that hyperinsulinemia, or high insulin, causes the stem cells to freeze, become senescent, meaning they're not moving. So by fasting, you're not increasing the insulin, you're decreasing the insulin. So that's one of the great things. There's some other great things that happen when you're fasting, and that's your body starts spiking growth hormone. So growth hormone is very essential. We all have growth hormone, just a lot more when we're younger, right? So growth hormone, if you remember when we were kids, man, you heal like a Wolverine. Right now, Kenny takes me to his boxing gym, and I'm Mayweather boxing. It takes a while to recover. I don't have as much growth hormone as I did when I was a child. Those are two things. And the third thing, what you're really talking about, is your body becomes in this process called autophagy. Autophagy just means eats its own self up. And what it's doing, it starts cleaning using its lymphatic system. So it starts eating these senescent cells that aren't really activated or working well, and you start pooping them out. And it's funny, when you fast, you'll actually poop more. Now, not to give my religion, but I always say there's a passage that says certain clarities come in prayer and fasting. And it's actually true. When you fast, your body creates ketones. Ketones are great for your brain, right? Ketogenic diets, that's why migraines, epilepsy, but it's also good for your gut. And so I tell people that it's one of the, you'll see right now on Joe Rogan and all these, they're talking about ketone esters. Ketones are very highly anti-inflammatory. So you are healing your body by improving your growth hormone, by creating its body's own way of cleaning out its junk, so to speak, and decreasing the insulin.
Yeah, and how you're talking about the gut health, like a lot of people's issues come from an unhealthy gut.
Absolutely.
Correct?
Absolutely. So we're finally catching up to what naturopathic doctors and functional medicine doctors are saying. I think Harvard was the first to finally say, oh yeah, there's something called leaky gut syndrome. But the gut is really one cell thick. It's not very thick at all, and it's held by these tight junctions. And so what happens, inflammation in the gut, and that can be from processed foods. That can be from things that are just, this is Superman right here, but even Superman has a kryptonite. Maybe his kryptonite is gluten. Who knows?
I am not Superman.
You are, man. You're the guy's hitting home runs.
No, it's right? His bunions.
There's his kryptonite.
Yeah.
So
what fasting help bunions?
There you go. They didn't make the checklist. But no, so what happens is your gut is so important. As a matter of fact, your thyroid, 18% of your active thyroid, your T3, free T3 is converted in your gut. 95% of your neurotransmitter, like serotonin, in your gut. 75% of your immune in your gut. So a gut is very important. You'll see a lot of, I treat, again, anti-aging, I see a lot of women as they age, they get these spots, right? Melasma. About 90% of people that have melasma have gut issues. The largest organ in your body is your skin, followed by your gut. Isn't that amazing? So what functional medicine, what I like to do is, again, yes, I'm a fan of referring to a dermatologist, and they might put hydroquinone and things to clean those, but we should also be working on their gut.
Yeah, it's like you have healthy skin from the inside out.
Yeah,
right? Like
absolutely.
If you're putting good stuff in your body, you're going to have that glowing skin
Yep.
that everybody looks for.
And it's literally just, we blame it on age, but it's compounding bad habits over a period of time.
No doubt.
And you can definitely reverse that with things like fasting, things like implementing a lifestyle. You say, no, I'm not only want to be here for my kids, but I want to thrive.
Lifestyle.
Lifestyle.
And that's that's how I came across all this, because the guy who kind of taught me and learned, because when I wouldn't eat, and then I would be like, dude, like, I'm hungry, I don't feel good, like I need to eat. And it's like, no, you don't. Like you're almost like addicted to food. Like your body wants that. It's like, just set a timer for an hour. If you're still starving hungry in an hour, then eat. If you're not, then you can keep going. Yeah. And then he was telling me about there's an island, I forget what it's called, but it's called the nickname is the island where people forget to die. And it's easy for people to live over 100, 101 years old. They don't have like all the modern stuff we do. One thing is that they walk a lot, like they have to walk to the market, and they have like healthy food. And the other thing was fasting. Yeah. They fast like every quarter, like long fasting, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and they'll do like dry fasting. So they won't even drink water during the day. And he was saying like, so if these people can go 3 weeks without eating, you can go 15 hours without eating. Like your body is healthy. And he was showing me videos and pictures like of this lady, and he's like, how old do you think she is? I was like, 50, 60. Yep. She was like 92 years old.
No, it's amazing. And so a lot of these longevity studies are done in populations like that, right off of Greece, I think is the one that you're talking about. There's a bunch of different ones. And there's so many natural and simple things that we can incorporate for longevity and being healthy that actually don't cost a lot of money. One of the things that I pride myself in is, I definitely take care of a lot of athletes and good stuff, but one day a week I take care of the underserved and the elderly. And they don't have a lot of this money. And people say, oh, anti-aging medicine costs a lot of money. No, there's a lot of things you can do that are free. As a matter of fact, a couple of them that I frequently tell my patients, one of them is what you just said, walking. Walking has been shown, multiple studies, immediately after you eat. It's probably one of the best things you can do to lower what's called your postprandial glucose, or your sugars after you eat. Unfortunately, we're trained in the United States to do what? We say, oh, you better take it easy, Tyson. Let your food go down.
Kenny, go to sleep.
Right?
You got to wait an hour before you can swim.
Actually, walking immediately after helps to keep that insulin stable and not rise after we eat. That's number one. So if you have any homework that comes out of this podcast, if you love your parents, your elders, yourself, trying to incorporate walking 2 to 3 times a day. I think that's an amazing thing you could do after your meals. Only 15 minutes is what the studies are done with. The other one that you can do, which is pretty much free, or low cost, I should say, is actually extreme exposure to temperature. One in specific being the sauna. Huge study that came out and has been published from, I want to say it was from, Finland, and it was with sauna use, and doing the sauna anywhere from 1 day out of the week to 4 days out of the week, which was done for only 15 minutes, decreased the risk of heart attack, strokes, all case mortality more than any medication we can give. Isn't that amazing?
Yep.
And the third thing, and it kind of goes together, so we call those stressors. kind of like fasting. It's putting our body needs to be challenged. Weightlifting. We talk about as we get older. I'm making fun of some people. We start doing all this cardio. No, we also need to do weightlifting.
Yep.
Right? We need to be a challenge. So these thermal stressors do that. And then the last thing that I was going to say, so what did we say? We said walking, thermal stressors. Oh, getting into a parasympathetic tone. So exercise is very important, right? If we go to the gym, it's good for our brain, but it gets our heart rate up. And that's important. But we also have to work on the opposite, getting our heart rate down. And so whether you do that with the opposite, right? Thermal exposure of heat or cold. In the sauna, we try to get that heart rate down. In the cold tub or cold plunge or shower, all those things that can get in that parasympathetic tone. That's where you get all these studies from Harvard and whatnot, doing yoga. It's slowing down that heart rate. Those are 3 things we can all do. And then the 4th one, I love, this is my favorite one, and coming over here just seeing is nature. We know now, putting our feet on the ground, you call it grounding, earthing, and there's plenty of studies behind it, but also physics. The earth is negatively charged, we're positively charged. We need to exchange electrons, right? These shoes that are on our feet, I know we use them, but every now and then you take them off and put them on that ground, and you'd be amazed how good you feel. And you could type up, earthing or grounding and inflammation, earthing and grounding and depression. There's multiple studies, whether down at UCLA or on the East Coast, and it's just, those are all things that you could do for free pretty much.
And even like sun exposure too.
Sun exposure,
it's
absolutely.
was like a big one for me, because I didn't even realize that, because growing up in California, the sun's always out, right? But going to Detroit, when I was playing in Detroit, it was gray for 3 months.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, why am I so in a funk? I don't feel like myself. And then we go play Arizona end of the season, and the sun's just beating on my skin. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like I recharged under the sun, which like solar panels on my body,
right?
Which was like crazy to me, that it had that effect.
Yeah, and the studies with that were done in NASA, right? A lot of the astronauts that were getting wounds that wouldn't heal, they were sick, weren't getting better, and what ends up happening is you've heard of red light therapy?
Yep.
It's a misnomer. It's actually called near infrared light. So near infrared light therapy has been shown to help out. Now, it doesn't have UVA and UVB, so you won't get a tan. You also won't get the vitamin D activated, but it's that important. Data has shown that Americans spend about 90% of their time indoors. So I love it, man. I'm just so get those kids, get out there and get a little bit of sun. And I totally get it, understand about sunblock, and that's a different controversy other doctors, but I still think a little bit is still good for you.
Mentally too, right? Because what is Alaska is the #1 suicide state because they don't see sun for 23 hours a day sometimes.
Yeah, that's a crazy statistic.
I haven't put on sunscreen in probably since I was in Hawaii. I put on one time because I was laying on the beach all day.
Yeah. If you're gonna,
there's a lot of doctors coming out saying that putting on sunscreen is actually worse for you because all the chemicals that they have, there's very few actually good sunscreens on the market.
Right.
You're better off to get the sun than to put whatever chemicals are in that sunscreen.
I think you said it properly. The thing is, certain sunscreens, right?
Yeah.
That have these compounds and chemicals in them that when they actually get the UVA and UVB exposure, they become free radicals. So we're saying yes, it can actually be carcinogenic. So what a lot of doctors actually recommend is wearing a shirt, right, or spending about 15 minutes and then getting out and staying in the shade. But I'm one of those doctors. I still believe it's good for you. I mean, again, not to be over religious, but God gave us a lot of things and they can't be bad for you. Now, of course, there's limits. Even water, right? Water, if you drink too much, will kill you, right? Become hyponatremic. But we need water. We need sun. We need protein. These are all things that are essential. And what I love about the way we're practicing medicine, the way we're going, is our body has an amazing ability to heal. Let's give it those right messages, those right signals. Sometimes that might mean taking away a signal, right? The Takis and the Flamin' Hot Cheetos. Sorry to say names. That's me, not these guys. But it's important. I just had a kid, a young man, and Quincy will like me talking about this. This young man got sent to me, a basketball player. He's about 6'2", complained of multiple tendinopathies, multiple joint pains, right? And he came into me for an injection. I go, no, he's too young. This kid, you're going to go the next 20 years getting injections. So number one, I started asking about his nutrition. And this is crazy. This is according to the Department of Food and Agriculture, our kids need to eat 8 to 11 oranges to equate the vitamin C content of one orange that we ate in the 80s, right? I'm a little older than you guys, but the 80s, right? And it's just due to farming practices, too much processed foods. So I start asking this kid, and I say, hey, how's your nutrition? It's Takis, this and that. Yeah. So first of all, he's already at a disadvantage because food is so less nutrient dense, but then he's eating all these foods that are highly inflammatory, right? Second thing is he comes in and he's playing basketball. And we grew up in a generation where we talk about flexibility, which is basically the elongation of a muscle in a linear plane, which I'm not saying it's not good, but we forget about mobility. I touched his TFLs, his tensor fasciae latae, IT bands, extremely tight. Like I'm talking, he's a kid. He's like, whoa, that's where the tendinopathies were coming from. It was nutrition and movement, mobility. So he doesn't need shots. He doesn't need injections. Now, as a doctor, I get paid to give injections, but it's not what's right for the patient. And I told this kid, showed him a couple exercises of mobility. I guarantee he's going to be doing well, not in a couple weeks, in a couple days. And I'm not saying that he can't have, the Takis and the Flamin' Hot Cheetos, but not having them every day and making sure that we are still getting some of that good nutrition in us. You'll hear doctors frequently talk about vitamin D, right? We all know about vitamin D, whether it's during the pandemic or your family doctor, vitamin D. Well, we know now that 55 to 70% of Americans, depending what you read, are deficient on magnesium. Magnesium is the key that allows you to eat vitamin D. Where do we get magnesium from? Good meats, organic meats, healthy nuts like almonds, pistachios. So a lot of it comes with nutrition, right? And so if we want our kids to get to your guys' level, we better start feeding them well, because this is what I tell people: injuries happen. Right? I'm not going to sit here and say, I think the reason a lot of athletes like coming to me, I'm not here to say, oh, we're going to prevent injuries. I'll be a bazillionaire, right? But it's how quick can you recover? Yep. How can we get your body to say it's healing time, right? And a lot of time that's with nutrition. That's with sunlight. And if we can't use the sun, we use red light therapy and stuff like that.
That's what I always say, like, the best ability that an athlete can have is availability.
Yep.
No matter what.
I like that, yeah.
And it's... because if you're on the shelf, then you're no use to anybody.
Yeah. Yep.
And nutrition was always a huge part of my life too, because I was always a fatter kid, like younger kid, right? I was always big, so like I always had to watch what I ate from when I was like 10 years old and on. But but my parents and stuff didn't really have like the knowledge about it that like I have from being in the NFL for forever and going through college and all that kind of stuff and meeting people like you, like I didn't have a Dr.B like when I was growing up, so it's only going to make my kids better, which is really cool to like talk about too.
If I could give you credit, I mean, I've known you now even more from this last year, and to see the transformation that you've made. You've lost over 60 pounds, right?
Around 60.
Yeah, about 60 pounds. Amazing. And I heard this story. I was talking to someone today, and it actually made me think that I was coming here. Kids, when they're learning to walk, you can't deny them. They're going to walk, right? And the reason they're going to walk is because they see everybody around them that's walking. They see us, and they're like, no, I want to walk, right? They want to be like their brothers or cousins. And so you look at it two ways. So the first one is, what are we showing our kids, right? So if you think your kid is going to be that next LeBron James, Tom Brady, well, you should also be eating well, working on stress reduction, right? Bettering your craft to show these kids by example, because they are looking at you. Then the other thing is, I'm going to back it up. Now, if you're that kid, if you want to walk, if you want to go to medical school, or you want to run a marathon, hang around with people that support that. Hang around with people. And so for you, the reason you've been successful and people are like attracted to your gym, it's the energy. The basic laws of physics, thermodynamics, energy is never created, destroyed, but transferred. You walk into your gym and you're transferring great energy. People are seeing, hey, if this guy's done it, man, I could do it too. And there's a lot of stories, I know we can't say names, at your gym that you're like, oh man, this is amazing. Yeah. So if you want your kid to, if you say, I love my kids, I'm being blunt, can they eat Flamin' Hot Cheetos and all that? Yeah, they can. But they should also be eating good food. They should also work. And guess what? That means we should too as adults. We can't tell them, hey, one of my kids is in college. I can't tell them, hey, Mio, don't stress out. And then I'm at night doing my taxes and stressing out. We got to walk the talk, right? So,
no doubt.
And you're definitely doing it.
I'm trying.
Tyson's just a machine. He doesn't even have to try.
It's a work in progress.
And this is something that me and my wife talk about all the time. When people say, they use their kids as the excuse that they, can't do anything, that they were once this sports star, but they had kids young, or they can't have their dream job because they had kids young. And then it would be selfish for them to try to go do this now because I have to be here to raise my kids and all this. How my wife and I see it is it's like, no, that's selfish that you're not doing it. Like you're giving the world a less version of yourself. Like your kids, number one, first deserve the best version of you. Yeah. And you can't tell them what they should do. You have to show them. And that's kind of how like I was raised. My parents never told me that I had to work hard. Yeah. I was never once told, oh, you got to work hard to make your dreams. Like they showed me. They just did it through hard work. Yeah. Now they both had nothing. Yeah. Both of them had nothing. My dad didn't have any parents. Neither of my parents graduated high school. And they're some of the most successful people that I know because, as you guys both know, success is not where you're at. It's how far you've come. So how far they have come and how they did it, it was easy for me. I just know how to do a lot of things because of them. Yes, they were both very talented people. I have talents because of them. But their example that they set of I was never awake as a kid before my parents. I never went into their room and they were asleep. Yeah, they were always awake before me. Like everything was done, a certain way, and I wasn't, super strict like military school or anything like that. They just showed me, and Goggins said it perfectly. He said, most people are theorists. They talk about what you should do. He's like, I want to be a practitioner. Absolutely. I want to do it. There's a lot of theorists out there. Yeah. There's very, very few practitioners. Right. And when he said that, it like hit me hard. It's like, I have to do these things before I say it. Yeah. Like we have a lot of knowledge just because we've got to travel around the world. Yeah. Right. I feel like that's the best education is getting out of your hometown, go and learn and talk to other people. But don't be a theorist, be a practitioner and just do it. And then you will attract those people and they will ask you and then you'll be like, okay, I'll show you. Come on with me.
I love it.
Yeah. That's cool. I never heard that one. I like that.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite things. And then going back, I know, getting all fired up. And then going back to Goggins, how you were talking about being super tight. He, he's an animal, right? Yeah. Supposed to be the hardest man on the planet. He got super sick and like super depressed at like one point, and he thought he was gonna die. He kept going to all these doctors. Nobody can figure out. Come to find out, he was so tight in his hips and his psoas. His psoas were so tight that he couldn't move, and it was sending out, I don't know what it is, to his body, and his body was reacting like he was dying. Right, absolutely. It was crazy. And then to go back even more, when you were talking about the orange thing and like eating oranges, how we need to eat like 8 oranges versus 1. So I played in 2021. I played with Fernando Rodney. He closed for us. 44 years old. He had like 350 saves in the big leagues. One of the best closers to play. Came down to Mexico, played with us. 44 years old, throwing 97 miles an hour. He ate 5 to 10 oranges every single day. He'd just be sitting at his locker with this. I'm not kidding you. This big like. It wasn't even a knife. It was a machete or a sword, and he would just cut these things, and he would just eat them, and then it's amazing. He was an animal.
It's actually, I was in London teaching some doctors about micronutrient deficiencies, and we see them: iron being number 1, number 2, vitamin D, number 3 is magnesium here in the U.S., and number 4 is actually vitamin C. It's amazing. Really? It's amazing, and so it's difficult nowadays, not to get processed food. According to what's called British Medical Journal. It's about 87% of our foods that we eat are processed foods in the United States. So it's just making an effort to say, hey, babe, today we're having tri-tip, rice, and apples, right? Instead of saying we're having bread, pasta, and tortilla, right? And and kids will eat it. Kids will eat it. Yeah, we always, if you put a Snickers bar in front of them, they're getting it. But that's why us as adults, we set that example like we said. Like they're doing.
It makes me so sad when I see like a kid that's like 4 or 5 years old that's just like, they're already starting down a bad path. Yeah. And we were at the fair yesterday and there's kids, eating this stuff. Got home. We were walking behind us like, a 5-year-old kid, and they're like huge already. Yeah. It's like, and they have, cotton candy and some ice cream, and it's like they're already starting down that path. Now, I think you said it perfectly with moderation, right? Moderation. You can still enjoy life. Like you
Absolutely.
don't have to be some of these, hard ass guys that you see on TikTok or Instagram
Yeah.
that only eat certain things, and
Right.
they're in a cold tub and they're up at 4 a.m. and they walk while they meditate and their wife, and it's just like you don't have to be that extreme. You can enjoy life a little
even
bit.
Goggins says that. Goggins, well, that's what I love about, I've read his book. I follow him on social media. He's not trying to tell you need to do what he does. He does that for him.
Yeah.
He wants you to be the best of who you are, right? And
Exactly.
The same thing with nutrition and exercise. I tell people, I can get super chiseled and rip and I don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
I want to enjoy dinner, but I do want to be in somewhat shape. So it's the
For
balance
sure.
that you want to find.
I want to be in enough shape so I can whoop my kid's ass for as
man.
long as I can.
Sheesh, yeah. My kids are bigger than me already. I'm struggling with that.
I know it's going to take them a while to get there.
I
but
still got the voice. Hey,
yeah, for sure.
paying the bills. You know? So
yeah, man. It's definitely a struggle not a struggle, but it's the change from being a professional athlete to not being a professional athlete, where it's like I was wired for so long to work out a certain way and live a certain way and be a certain size and all that kind of stuff. And now it's just like, all right, I don't have to put 500 pounds on my back and squat anymore.
Well, and you had a lot of people helping you. You had people telling you when to show up, telling you what to eat, telling you what to do. And that's what I've struggled with, my afterlife and, second career with, like businesses is I'm so used to other people doing things for me. Packing my bag, packing my, plane ticket. Like you just show up, you get on the plane. Like when you have to do it all on your own, like I get like this weird, anxiety, and I like never get anxiety. It's like I'm like, what? Why is this? And it was happening for a long time, and then me and Tootie figured out it's like I'm so used to everything being done for me. Not that I was like I was just like a minor league guy, but you have trainers that are helping you with your workout, watching your form. With your recovery, you go tell them, hey, like I'm not feeling this.
Right.
They just knock it out, whether it's massage, cold tub, you go on this machine, stim machine, whatever it is, everything's done for you. Yep. And I know that you've like struggled with this too. It's like doing it on your own to where like, honestly, it's easy for us just to go to his shop and be like, hey, like hook us up with this, hook us up on this IV, whatever it is, because that's what we're used to doing. And that's what's been the hardest thing to like transition after. And I didn't realize it until probably like 3 months ago.
Yeah. And I think it's also great that you guys that have taken it to another level in sports talk to these younger guys, because they're all going to go through a phase, not all, a majority will go through a phase when they're done with their career through a depression. I think we've all gone there. I could say, where that light turns off. It's like, wait, or that switch, I'm not playing football anymore.
Yep.
Or I'm not the man. What do I do?
Yep.
And I think it's important for us to educate. Hey, this is going to come to everyone. I remember a real famous athlete that I saw. He said he went into a room and nobody cared who he was because Lamar Jackson was in the room. And they're like, they wanted to meet all the young kids. And he was just like, but I'm a Hall of Fame. It's like only the old guys are like, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's tough. We need to prepare. That's going to happen. Weight gain. We just recently had one of my teammates, two of them. One of them passed away, unfortunately. One of them just had a heart attack. These are all things that are going to come to us. And whether it's from the stressors of the sport, whether it's from an unhealthy lifestyle. Remember, sports are not healthy. It's an extreme of health, right? So we need to teach our kids, hey, how to decompress, how to get into that parasympathetic tone, right? Instead of just treating injuries, working on recovery. Wherever you stand on the spectrum of loving or hating the Tom Brady's or LeBron James or Steph Curry's, you got to give them credit. They do an amazing job of prevention, of protecting their body. They're in hyperbaric chambers. They're eating clean. Like you said, man, it's durability. Yep. Durability, man. So
you don't get. I mean, they still get paid, but your team doesn't win or you're not successful if you're not on the court or you're not on the field. Like how you said, the best ability is availability. You could be the best athlete in the world if you're not on the field. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
and that translates to a young kid, a young teenage girl, a young man, and the same thing. Instead of saying, hey, you need to study more and do an all-nighter, we say, hey, let's do this. Let's move that iPad or your cell phone. Let's study for a couple hours and let's get some sleep. Let's make sure we're recovering. All those patterns, fine. We need to really, I think you guys are doing a great job leading by example. We need to do that with our future athletes because, that switch turns off and nobody's doing it for us anymore, right? Yeah. It's like, whoa. As a matter of fact, I remember one of my old teammates, he was like, he went back to school. We started up a scholarship fund to help athletes that go back. And he was like, they asked me for my school ID numbers. I never even knew I had one. It could be detrimental. So it's up to us to take care of our future athletes as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, you do a great job of helping athletes in the valley and kind of showing them different ways to recover, right? Because especially like high school kids or whatever, they don't have access to that kind of stuff at their high school, and even kids at Fresno State and stuff like that don't have really the access to the high level hyperbaric chambers and all that kind of stuff. And you do such a good job of being an example, right? Being the person that people want to come to because they see the professional athletes in there. They see the top of the top athletes in the valley come to you, so they're like, why wouldn't I want to be there? Because that's where these guys are going. Because that's where I want to be as well.
Right. It's the same as that kid crawling, right?
Yeah.
They're looking at all their cousins crawl. That's where they want to crawl or walk. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a mindset too. Yep. Like, people don't understand how strong and powerful the human body is and how strong and powerful the human mind is. And
Absolutely.
People think that it's just, I have something wrong with me. How you were talking earlier in the beginning, how people say that they have something or they have these, something's wrong and they just have to go get a pill, and you don't understand, kind of like the victim mindset.
Yeah.
People don't understand how powerful and how strong the human body is. Like, we can put ourselves through literal hell and be completely fine. Right. Like the Navy SEALs, they go through that. Like, these are the hardest, most mentally tough people on the planet, and they try to break them. Yeah. They try to get them to quit for 6 weeks, and then they go through Hell Week, and they're literally trying to break down the human body, and they're trying to break you down mentally. And then these people come out, some of the most smartest and mentally tough people that there is on this planet. Right. But somebody that had to walk like 2 miles, and they're complaining their feet hurt or something, and it's I just I can't do it. You don't understand. And it's like, I mean, I do understand. Like, I get it. I like empathize for them. I can't say that I understand why they would do that to themselves, but at the same time, it's like, you can do way more than you give yourself credit for. Like, humans. Soft. Yeah, like, people honestly, like you can say, like, humans are some of the most remarkable species like on this planet, and it's crazy. People don't give themselves any credit, let alone enough credit. People don't give themselves any credit. Like, if you knew how powerful you were, you'd be able to do anything. But
no,
everybody holds themselves back.
I think going back to energy is never created or destroyed, but transfer. We also need to transfer those messages to our kids. We're in a time where there's so much information out there. And there was a comment one time of someone that told one of my buddies, "Hey, why does he always post that he does that? Blah, blah, blah." And I get it. But I do it on purpose. And I tell people, well, first of all, if he doesn't like what I'm posting, he can always swipe it. But that's the great thing about social media. You go the other way. But I say this, in a time where right now where a lot of people are posting, oh, look at my new watch. Look at my new car. Look at my new purse. They do the picture showing their fingernails with a little Mercedes. And that's okay, whatever. But how many things positive are we showing kids? And that's why I'm a huge believer on my social media, that I really try to show positive things. Because our kids also need to hear that. Mine's very, like we said, it's so important. And if we're constantly getting those messages that are negative, we start thinking like that. There's a study, and I wish I had it with me because I didn't plan on talking about this, but it shows the increase in anxiety, depression, and suicides since the invention of I'm not blaming on it, but mobile phone, the new phones, like let's say Android and
smartphones.
Yeah, it pretty much happened when I was in medical school. The first iPhone came out. And you see it's amongst teenage adolescents, right? Boys and girls, and it just skyrockets. It's amazing. And so it's us as adults too, and I'm not saying we're going to put phones away and stop using your phone, but we should definitely be cognizant of what they're looking at. And us too as adults, right? I always tell that, I get this little nerdy example. I said, if right now I can look at a post and go, oh man, that's awesome, feel great. Or read, oh man, I see a Goggins post, I'm going to go run. That energy. But I can also see a post and go, this son of a gun, I'm gonna comment. And my anger gets up, right? And if you look at that, it's literally a wave of light that went through our retina, gets in what's called lateral geniculate nuclei. I'm gonna sound like a nerd. Creates an action potential or electrical impulse, so to speak, and boom, you have a feeling. It might be an ugly feeling. Like, isn't that crazy? Yeah. That was literally a photon of light that came from that phone. So that's crazy. It's crazy. So if you have constantly ones that are making, oh man, this war going on, right? Oh, politics. Oh, I can't believe Tyson has me coming at 5 a.m. Oh, right? Get those out. Turn that phone off, or flood it with those good ones. Like the one that I'm on recently, and this is bad because I'm Dr.B Fit MD. I'm all these restaurants in Chicago. I'm like, dude, I need to go there.
Dude, I love watching people eat. I don't know what
too.
it is.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm a diet, I can sit, on YouTube and watch videos of people eating, and like I'm okay. And Tootie's sitting. How can you watch that? It's just making you worse. I was like, I love it. I'm getting my fix. Other people eat.
I'm like saving restaurants where I want to go after my diet's over and everything. I love it.
And that's why I think, again, we need to show our kids. We need to show positive images, right? The other thing that we mentioned that you can actually do for free. We talked about longevity medicine. Years ago, I went to a conference in Cornell in New York and showed Cornell, the school is not in New York, but one of the hospitals, and it was non-pharmacological ways of treating Alzheimer's, and of course, non-pills, vitamin D, omega-3s, all these nutrition. But one of them that I loved, the studies were done with crossword puzzles, was continuing to learn something new. And again, it goes down to challenging. We need the stresses of weightlifting. We need the stresses of cold and heat. We need the stressors of learning something new, right? And unfortunately, reading does not fall into that, because reading becomes like a bicycle, right? We're reading every day. I'm reading Wiggins, right? I'm reading these things. It's learning. So learn a new language, learn about a new religion, grab a history book and that's one of the ways that you can continuously stimulate your mind. Because the reality of anti-aging medicine, and this is the thought process, it's not so much about living longer, right? We don't want to live long, and a lot, Dr. Atia and all these famous doctors, you don't want to live long and be sick and miserable, but it's about thriving as you age, right? A good friend of the family, their mom just passed away at 98 years old. Her mind was so game all the way to about 3 weeks when she passed away. That's short. We're all going to go down. Yep. But to see her mind strong and still, that is amazing. You know what I mean? And so it's about stressing our body out the right way, getting into that sauna, fasting, which is a stressor, right? It's a stressor. It gets your body going. Weightlifting, learning something new. Get out of that comfort zone. Getting out of your hometown, challenging. Those are the ways that we grow. If we only do things in life we're comfortable with, we're really not going to grow. We're going to become complacent. And the word that you used earlier was soft. You'll become soft.
No doubt.
That's right. So we have to challenge ourselves. So if I were to give, the other thing another free thing you can do to improve your health is learn something. Continuously learn, right? Whether you decide to learn French, Spanish, Wiggins, Martinez over here.
I'm on like day 1,100 of
Duolingo?
Duolingo, bro.
Still doesn't know anything.
Yeah, he's like,
still trash.
Yeah, it's all right.
Still basura.
Yeah.
Basura.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, let's go.
Basura. No, it is too. And how you're talking about, like, mentally, they say when people get older to do like crossword puzzles or learn new things because it prevents Alzheimer's, right? Because you're kind of growing your mind.
There's learning new things. Other things that there's data with. Of course, I'm huge on nutrition, right? I had a young gal. She brought me her daughter, and I'm not saying again that antidepressants aren't needed and whatnot. I'm sure, but I talked about nutrition, and we ever talking. So again, poor diet. And going to diet, well, so we know that tryptophan is an essential amino acid, meaning we need to eat it. Our body doesn't make it. And tryptophan is important for our body to make melatonin and serotonin. If we don't have melatonin, insomnia, some people say breast cancer, things like that. If you don't have serotonin, depression, anxiety. Isn't that crazy? That's why we give SSRI, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. Keeps it around. But we know now through some great studies that maybe treating with tryptophan. And what is tryptophan? Healthy fats. Everybody thinks turkey, right? Yeah. But healthy fats, meats, eggs. I'm a huge fan of eating, non-processed. I'm more carnivore. It's okay if you're going to go plant-based. That's great too.
Ribeye.
But healthy fat.
Eat a ribeye.
Protein
shakes. But those are, and so we literally put this young girl on a high fat, quality fat diet. Mom was like amazing. Her hormones jumped up naturally. She was just, and it's nutrition, man. Nutrition plays that much of a role.
Yeah, and that's keto. People think that keto is, a low calorie or a low carb diet. Yeah. Keto is a no carb, high fat diet. Yeah. You're getting healthy fats and healthy protein because a ribeye is a very fatty meat. It has the proteins and has a lot of nutrients that you can talk about. I don't know. Yeah. I just know like red meat kind of gets a bad rap nowadays, or I think it's coming back, but for like the last 10, 10, 15 years, oh, you go to the doctor, you have, high cholesterol or something.
Right.
Oh, stop eating red meat.
Stay away from the saturated fats.
Yeah, like eat more vegetables and all this. But then those fruits and vegetables are being sprayed with chemicals that are a lot worse for you than the meat is.
It's a change of thought people are having. People still disagree, and I think you can definitely respectfully disagree whether you're plant-based or carnivore meat-based. I think the main thing is avoiding processed foods. There was a study that was published probably about 9 months ago now that was in the Journal of Nutrition, and I'll go with meat, that showed eating 1 serving of processed meat a day increase your risk of diabetes by 33%. And you're like, wait a second. Meat, diabetes? Yeah, processed meat though. So that's against it. And so this is where it gets scary. So what is processed meat? It's what we feed our kids. Hot dogs, salami, lunch meat, or deli meat, I should say, for their sandwiches, sausage, things like that. So it's definitely about decreasing processed foods, whichever way you go. There was another study based out of India, and this wasn't vegans, but vegetarians, and again, high risk of diabetes. But again, they're eating processed potatoes, French fries. So it's all about balance. And so whichever way you want to go, I think if you can try to get as much natural food, if you can get healthy fats, if you're doing it plant-based with avocado and coconut oil and all those things, I think that's great, right? Me personally, I'm like you. I like a good ribeye steak, and even nowadays with cholesterol, and I know this can be controversial. We know big study that just got released recently is over half of the people that had heart attacks actually had good or low cholesterol, LDL specifically. So what we really worry about is oxidized or inflamed cholesterol. What oxidizes cholesterol? Well, smoking. Most people hopefully aren't smoking. Insulin, sugar. Sugar will get those little LDL particles stuck in there and inflame, stress, and things like that. So there's some genetic factors you can do as well. But we're learning that it's not so much again just cholesterol, but it's inflammation, and inflammation usually tends to come from too much sugar or insulin.
Yeah, sugar is probably one of the worst things for you.
It's tough, man. Yeah.
And
It's
I
so
saw
good though.
Can I get a sugar-free steak?
I saw a study also that sugar is more addicting than heroin. This was a long time ago.
There's much more people that are diabetic than doing heroin, so I believe it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Sure.
And it's sugar is not the best thing for you, but it's the hardest thing to stay away from. Same as drugs, right? Like if you get, I could see what I believe that certain foods are addictive. We're all kind of addicted to a little bit of something. It's hard.
Absolutely.
It's hard to avoid. But the sugar thing is just, I think everybody struggles with. All of us up here, we try to be the best version of ourselves, but we're stuffing our face with cookies. You know what I mean? Like we don't have
I bet
to
you
be
Jen's
perfect.
Downstairs making cookies right now.
Oh my gosh!
I know. I'm gonna 40. I'm gonna make 40.
And that's my weakness, right? I don't want you candy, but you give me a cookie, woo. Man.
And another thing is too, the quality of it too, right? Because
quality of the food, right?
Yeah, quality of the food, right? What's so great about living here is I can grow a lot of food myself. Wiggins Ranch, right?
Yeah.
So I bought a half a cow, so I knew where this one cow is coming from. It's fully grass fed out in Sanger, right? It's not processed or anything like that. Put it in the freezer. I got peppers and onions and all that kind of stuff that's just growing in my backyard that is thrown in the chili that we're gonna eat later.
Nice.
So this is all really a homegrown. I threw some beans in there, but it's all pretty much homegrown stuff, which is I think the best way.
Right.
Even though it might be a little bit higher in calories or whatever it is, but it's real food, right? It's not the processed stuff and the stuff that's causing all these cancers. And there's no sprays on my fruits or anything. I can put a little fertilizer down there, a little cow shit, and then let's
the real fertilizer.
Real fertilizer, and then let it grow, you know, and just kind of live off the land a little bit as much as I can. Of course I can't grow bread. I can't grow loaves of bread on a tree, and my kid likes peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So of course we're gonna do that.
And you're mixing it in,
no doubt. So it's as much as we can try to live off of what we can grow here and stuff like that, which has been awesome.
Well, and I'll break a little bit of confidentiality with you, right? Look at what you've done. When we first met, you're like, I don't like taking medicines. I like to eat clean. You've lost all that weight. At your age, how many people that put their body through a beating like you did in the pros, you're not on any medication?
No.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Right? I tell people that when I say my mom's 69, they're not taking any meds. They're like, what? Because I thought as you get older, you're supposed to take meds. That's what doctors like me are trained. Oh, you should probably be on this medication.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, let me write you.
The
Let me write you
real
a script.
answer is,
Yeah.
what are you doing naturally?
Yep.
Now, again, I'm not a naturopath, and I love natural. If you came to me with 3 heart attacks, diabetes, you're gonna be on your metformin, your beta blockers, all
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
But for us, we can definitely work on it.
And there's people that want that. They want to go to the doctor and
Yeah.
just get a pill.
Oh, yeah.
Just so they can live their life. And that's
I'll tell you about the latest craze, right? Semaglutide, the injection for weight loss.
Yeah.
Yeah. Am I a fan of it? Absolutely, for the right people. But the second thing is this, again, looking at conflicting data. A recent study actually showed they gained muscle, but the one that made all the news was people were losing muscle mass. Absolutely. So what happens with this medication? So you take semaglutide, which is what's called a GLP, a glucagon-like peptide. It basically works on an incretin system. So the symptoms for reception from your brain all the way down to your gut. It says, I'm not that hungry, right? So you're not hungry, so you're going to eat less. And when you do eat less, now you're starting to eat salads. I'm not saying salads are bad, but you're not eating enough protein. And you're not eating enough of those healthy oranges we're talking about, as it is such processed. So I'll literally see people wasting away. So I'm a huge fan of these, whether you do a DEXA scan or body composition analysis. No, I'm okay with you losing weight. Oh, I know. I'm glad when people lose weight, but you want to lose fat. You don't want to lose muscle.
you want to keep as much muscle mass, right?
Absolutely. And muscle mass, we need our protein for that. We need strength bearing exercises. And I'll be honest, we need fat. We need fat for the hormones. My bodybuilders, and I know they have to do it for other reasons, but if you look and they come all messed up afterwards, right? Because I don't even have to type this on the internet. Chicken, rice, broccoli, chicken, rice, broccoli, chicken, rice, broccoli. First of all, there's no fat. Mm-hmm. And fat, if you remember any basic science book, cholesterol is the backbone, pregnenolone, progesterone, testosterone, estrogen. We need fat for hormones. So I'm a huge fan of what you're doing with your kids.
Yep.
Yeah, they can have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, but guess what? We're also going to have some grass-fed beef.
Yeah,
you know
no
what I
doubt.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're doing the right thing.
I'm trying to like live, like you said, like
Yeah.
the right way. So
right
they
way, and
see
it's a
it,
balance,
right?
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
a balance.
Now
for
I
sure.
know, people are gonna say, "Oh, okay, Wiggins. Not everybody has the land. Not everybody played in the NFL to be able to afford this stuff." And when you do go to the grocery store, all the healthy stuff is more expensive. All the organic stuff is more expensive. So for somebody that's listening or saying, we don't have the money, things are tight, especially now in the economy that we're in, things are expensive.
Absolutely.
Like, everybody's struggling when it comes to certain things, whether it's your nutrition or diet or, money wise. So for somebody like that who maybe doesn't have the ability to get so much healthy food, what can they do? Is it more about cutting certain things out or making sure you're getting certain things in?
I'll address that in 2 ways. The first one is, and I might get shot for saying this, but there's actually some studies that show that organic may not be better, even though I'm a big fan of it. So the first thing is cutting out processed food. Processed food's probably the best, and you could do that across the board, right?
And it's the cheapest.
And right, correct. And then the other thing is this: there's some laws that passed. If you go to, I usually go to Save Mart or Vons. If you go to Save Mart, you're gonna see Ocean Spray cranberry juice right next to it. Ocean Spray cranberry juice, no high fructose corn syrup. Heinz ketchup, no high fructose corn syrup. But I always try to get the one with the least amount of those processed sugars. That's number one, right? And there's laws that pass there the exact same price. Same thing with sodas. Sodas here in the United States, they have soda made with no high fructose corn syrup. Now made with real sugar. I'm not saying those are healthy, but it's a different option when you want to cheat, right? But so that's number one. They're the same price. Now, organic, unfortunately, due to the way things are farmed, it is more expensive.
And certain things can say organic,
correct,
but they're not. It's like a percentage, right? So you have to look for a specific organic, and then like in like the small writing, it has to be a specific organic.
Correct. And so yes, there's some things that you would have to make an adjustments with, but least processed. But I would say this: not being at your 100%, being mentally clouded, overweight, joint pain, whatever. Is that going to affect your job and your earning potential? It all goes together. So what I can say is this: if your health and if your kid's health is important to you, then it's worth that money. It's worth that money, that little extra to say, you know what? In my house, my kids live with their mom in Chicago, but there's no high fructose corn syrup in the fridge. So they eat regular maple syrup, right? It took me a while to get used to, but they're used to it. We made that commitment because it's that important. Does it cost a little bit more? It does. But guess what? It also costs more. having to buy clothes all the time, or all these different diseases that come with being obese as well, right? And I'm not fat shaming, but it's the honest truth. When you're sick, you're not going to perform as well.
It's an investment.
It's an investment.
Right? Like invest in yourself.
Yep.
Invest in getting yourself healthy foods, because you're going to see
Right.
everything clearer. You're going to be able to perform better at your job. You're
Right.
going to be happier with your wife. You're going to figure it out.
Right.
When it comes to money,
Yep.
if you're in the right headspace, if you're healthy, if you're putting in all this BS in your body, you're gonna keep complaining.
Right.
You're gonna keep on being kind of that
Right.
in that victim mentality.
Absolutely.
Because you keep doing the same thing over.
Yep.
You're not healthy enough to be able to perform at your best self.
There was an oncologist here locally, and I was cool with the oncologist, and but he was like, cancer just happens, and sometimes it does. But my rebuttal to that was, but if you're healthy, you can handle that chemo so much more.
Mm-hmm.
If you're healthy, your body can handle this big fight in life that's called cancer. And to this day, story after story, we tend to prove that. We're all going to die sometimes. But do we get to die with a little bit of dignity and saying, hey, no, I'm going to fight this? Or, you go out in the first round, right? So it's your health is important. Your nutrition is important. And again, we talked about kids for mental health. We talked all the way to aging. I think that's important. If you go to a physician or a clinician that is not talking about that, the great thing about now, you can find another one, look online, and educate yourself, right? There is a lot of junk on the internet as well. And, there's, like you said, jump in a pool for 30 minutes and then don't eat seed oils and don't you dare touch a plant, right? No, the whole thing to it is, are you thriving? Do you have balance in life, right? Do things make sense? I think whatever side of the spectrum you're on, you could at least say decreasing processed foods is important. I'm not going to say, I've eliminated processed food completely, because I'll tell you right now, if we go downstairs and you said your wife is making some cookies, I'm going to have a cookie, right? But, I usually don't do that.
Yeah, that's exactly what the carnivore MD
guy
said.
What's his name? From University of Arizona.
Yeah, Saldino. And he says the same exact thing. He says, if you're vegan or you eat vegetables and you're thriving on it, by all means, do it, live it. I'm not telling you that this is, I'm just telling you the benefits of this based on science. If you're thriving in that, keep up with it. But the main thing is to cut out processed food. Right. And he says the same exact thing.
Absolutely. You're going to get a study that shows you that becoming a vegan is healthy. You get a study that shows you being a carnivore is healthy. And so you're always going to get conflicting data. Make sure that you make a decision. Think about it, right? For my keto guys, I always say, there's nothing keto about a keto cookie, right? Or, it's like, do it the right way. You know what I mean? We got to be a little bit, because there's a lot of hogwash out there.
Have a cookie.
Have a cookie.
If you're gonna drink soda, drink a soda.
Drink a soda.
Drink
with
a diet soda.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Ain't no calories in those though.
Yeah, right. So what are some things that you have at your clinics that a normal doctor wouldn't have?
Ooh, that's a great question. I think one of the things we've really focused on our clinic is including multiple modalities of parasympathetic tone, getting your body in. So we have hyperbaric chambers, right? So we have 2 hyperbaric chambers. Usually when you breathe, 21 to 24% oxygen. We pump it full of oxygen there, and then we pressurize the molecule. When you do that, it decreases in size, so it saturates your tissue, so you heal quicker. Most people, when they get in there, they fall asleep. They get good recovery. The other things we do, we have red light therapy. Red light therapy, again, or near infrared light, penetrates your body. Your mitochondria, the parts of your body that make energy, they're really only attracted to glucose, which is sugar, right? We need sugar, carbohydrates, and photons, energy. That's what you're saying, man. The sun gives you energy. We do different IVs. We do cryotherapy to, again, get people with that cold therapy. It's another thermal stressor. We push them to get into parasympathetic tone. And then I have my 3 rooms in the back where I will talk about diabetes and high blood pressure, right? All these things, I just said 55 to 70% of Americans might be deficient in magnesium from what studies are telling us. There's a direct correlation with deficiencies in magnesium and high blood pressure. Isn't that crazy? But yet, if Kenny comes to me with high blood, the way I was trained, you have high blood pressure, I'm going to say, let me give you lisinopril or losartan or a blood pressure medication. What I really should be saying is, well, how do we get him in that parasympathetic tone? Does he have enough magnesium? And then you can read up on the different types of magnesium. I personally like magnesium glycinate, but you can do something even like Celtic salt. Celtic salt, which has, I believe, 8 different of the magnesiums in there. And you'll see your blood pressure literally just start getting better. It's making efforts to eat better, incorporate some of these natural ways, so that maybe you're still on blood pressure medication, but maybe it's the lowest needed, right? Or maybe not. Maybe we get you off. I love when someone says, "Man, Dr. B, I'm getting a little dizzy." I said, "Good. I mean, it's time to get off your blood pressure medication." You know, to me, that's not an insult to me. I love that. It's like, yeah, good job, man. Let's take those away. You know what I mean? Yeah, and then we also do, I love injecting with an ultrasound. I'm a big ultrasound guy, so I do a lot of shoulder injections.
You've done a couple of mine.
Yeah, a lot of platelet-rich plasma.
PRP. Yeah. So what is PRP? Because people hear PRP shot a lot, but what exactly is it?
So he really got famous with Kobe. Kobe went to Germany, right? Oh my God, what's he getting done? They're busy blood doping, right? And basically, your body again has an amazing ability to heal, but there's certain parts in our body that don't have good vascularity, don't have good blood supply. Those are going to be ligaments, tendons, meniscus, right? So what we do is we draw your blood, we spin it, and we take the part that tells us to heal, and we inject. We're just potentiating your natural healing. We inject it into those areas. So again, right now, if you were to punch me, it's going to hurt. It's going to bruise. A couple of days later, that bruise goes away. It doesn't hurt because my body said, "Hey, let's heal." PRP. That's what we're concentrating those healing signals, and we're putting them into places that may not have good vascularity. But again, I'm a huge fan. If someone's going to get PRP with me, like when we talk for those next couple of weeks, you should really be, I'm not endorsing a ketogenic diet, but pretty darn close. Yeah. Lowering that insulin if you want it to work.
Yeah.
I swear by PRP. Recover. I swear by it. Yep. It's been great.
It's great. I'm a huge fan. I did about 3 cases of it today and on patients, and I love it. I think it's a very good alternative. And, at first a lot of orthopedic surgeons ridicule and laughed at it because things need to be done the right way. There needs to be studies. Now all of them do it, right? Mm-hmm. And the great thing, we just got a new guy at Spock, right? Coach Hill's son. Yeah. He's a young guy, so hopefully he's going to be, and I know he's going to be thinking young, and surgery is always going to be there, right? But now we're learning for those cases that maybe don't need surgery, or how can we improve surgical outcomes? So
that's one thing too. A lot of people come to us and ask for advice when it comes to shoulders or knees or like when something is wrong, or they have like elbow pain or shoulder pain. Hey, Tyson, what do I do? Like, my son might have to have Tommy John. I was like, your son's 16. Like, first of all, don't go to a normal doctor. Yeah. They're going to do an MRI. They're going to see a slight tear and say, oh, he needs surgery. Yeah. You need to go to somebody that sees athletes all the time, because they can see it and be like, oh yeah, normal wear and tear, he looks good. Right. There's other things that we can do. Maybe you're a little bit tight, like you were saying with the other athlete, or maybe a certain muscle is a little bit weak, so one's working too hard to where they can have you back on the field in a week or two, versus just hopping under a needle. Like, surgery is always the very, very last result.
Right.
Like,
absolutely.
Certain things happen that you just have to have surgery. Right. Correct. Like, I've had multiple. Like, I couldn't have played without them. Yeah. But before you go just to see a doctor, consult with somebody who has played. Like, if you don't know, send us a message, send you a message. Like, something, just ask. Like, they might not be able to come up here to wherever they're from, but they at least get information to go to a correct doctor to get the correct diagnosis to see what's actually up. Yeah,
because everything isn't just like cookie cutter. It's not. It's every case is
everybody's different.
And that's what I'm saying. Everybody's different. Every case is different, right? So it's one person can have a slighter tear, and then one person be a little bit more in a different spot where it's like, okay, that's going to tear. Let's fix it, or whatever it is. So,
especially if you start getting now, and there's a lot of research going on in if someone gets a traumatic injury versus non-traumatic ACL tears, right? We've seen people just literally backpedaling, ACL goes out, right? You have to start looking. Is there a problem with their vitamin C and their lay down of their collagen? There's other things, because we're going to go ahead and do that ACL surgery. It's going to happen again.
It's going to happen.
Right?
So the other side's going to pop.
The other side's going to pop, right? And so I'm a huge fan, like you said, of treating as a whole. Find someone that treats as a whole. And then also sometimes it's great to get advice from someone that will not do the surgery, because there's not a financial incentive, right? If I get paid to do something, I'm naturally going to lean that way. So I'm a huge fan of doing telemedicine, sending your MRIs and doing a televisit to a doctor just for a second opinion. And they know that. They'll tell you, oh, yeah, get it fixed. Or, I wouldn't. Because if you only go, and I hate to put people on the spot like this, but if you only go to a physician that's going to make money out of it, even if they're a great doctor, it will always lean towards a certain way. So you want to make sure the best the person that's responsible for your health is actually not that, is you, right? You got to go out there and be your own advocate.
Yeah, you're in charge of your own life, right?
Yep.
Right. And you go to 3 doctors, they all say, dude, you're screwed, get surgery. Probably going to need surgery. Yeah, you know.
Or if like your bicep rips off your bone.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah, I tore my Achilles tendon. Yeah. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you arm wrestle.
Yeah.
So what are some things that you don't have in your clinic right now that you want to have in the future?
So we're actually, in the very near future, we're going to start doing what's called resting and post-exercise, or with exercise, VO2 max testing. So we're going to be one of the few that is doing it here in the Central Valley, and using those different markers, right? These.
I love how all this stuff's coming out when we're done playing.
Yeah.
We could have used
I
a
know.
lot of this. Come on, man. Where
so
you been?
And basically what it's doing is looking at these, your body's ability to utilize oxygen, how the heart responds. And so some of the recent data shows, oh man, this is actually your best predictor to see if you're going to have a heart attack in the next 10 years, but also to measure your performance, how your body responds to parasympathetic tone, sympathetic tone. So we're going to start doing that very soon. And then the other thing is, I really want to start bringing in a chiropractor, nutrition, physical therapy, working more together, just because I love to give people options. I was trained traditionally, we call it MDs or allopathic doctors, and so we want to make sure that Kenny Wiggins might say, you know what, I don't want an injection, but I will see a chiropractor. Just because I wasn't trained in that doesn't mean that I'm right and they're wrong. I want to be able to do a holistic type of approach. And you say, Dr. B, I love you, but I'm not going to take that SI joint injection. I'll go see a chiropractor or a physical therapist. So I would love to introduce that. Yeah.
Definitely.
Awesome. I love it.
Let's real quick before we wrap it up. Let's talk about Foundation.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about your trips to Colombia, why Colombia, and kind of how it all started and who you're benefiting from it.
Yeah. So Colombia, the main reason I've been doing global health for over 10 years now. So go to a bunch of different countries, Cuba, Guatemala, Honduras. Colombia is very safe for Americans. And that was important to me because I'm taking students. It's so funny because I get parents that are like, take care of my baby. I'm like, he's 25. But it's okay. So you want to be safe. The second thing is it's very poor, but like they pick a coffee. So it's poor but not dangerous.
Yeah.
And then the third thing is where we go, we stay at this nice place where there's yoga. And I learned that. Not everybody's like me that will stay in a jungle. So it's a mix. And basically what we're doing is, one, it helps out these people from Colombia, but two, it gives some experience to kids here in the Valley that are trying to get into medicine, nursing, physician assistant, doctor, or go medical school, and if we start teaching people at an early age to give back, they'll continue to do it. And it's awesome, man. So we go there, they strengthen their applications, and I'm just going to say it. When you graduate from medical school, when you take off, whether it's Chicago or UCLA or wherever you go, it's very hard to come back to the Valley. You marry a young lady out there, or a lady marries a young man out there and says, oh, I got to move back to Selma or Fresno. So it's hard to bring people over here. If we're going to get people here, they need to be organic, meaning they have to be from the Valley. And the way we're going to get future doctors, nurses, and what to stay here is we bring them up, whether it's clinic experience. You always see at my clinics, they have students, taking them to other countries and really getting them to say, wow, this is awesome. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing about it, it's something that was instilled in me just from my dad. Again, you know, whatever religion you follow, if it's, in our case, if it's Christianity or Catholicism, we all have a duty to give back, right? And the way God blessed me, right, was with my hands and with the gift that I have of medicine. And our gifts, I truly believe, were meant to be shared. So what I get to do is I get to kind of help people blossom with their gifts. And there's a really nice young lady that is, I'll say her name, Claire Stewart. She first came to me and she was so nervous and she went to UC Irvine. I think she went to Clovis North. Kind of, sorry, Claire, a little nerdy. Was like, oh my gosh, all nervous. I took her to Columbia. I thought I was going to send her home. She had a panic attack. Day 2 was better. Day 3, amazing. Anyway, she ended up doing well at Columbia. Next thing you know, she calls me and she says, hey, I'm going to Panama. She goes to Panama, some global health thing. A year and a half, 2 years later, she calls me, which was this year. She says, Dr. B, I just got into medical school.
Sweet.
So she will be a doctor because of the people that donated to help her education, going to Columbia, getting experience. And what's amazing is she wants to be a pediatrician. To me, that's the most important doctor because she's going to be teaching our kids.
Yep.
And not trying to brag about myself, but she's been around me enough now where she's heard nutrition. So guess what she's going to break that cycle of doctors not talking about nutrition. If we want change in this world, we got to exemplify it. Yep. So that's the foundation really works on that, is giving students, experience, hands-on experience, and just showing them the power of giving back, and I've like I said, God gave me some pretty cool gifts, and so I got to share them. I feel if I only dealt with ex-NFL and Major League Baseball players, and I mean, don't get me wrong, you guys need help too, but it's really cool to go to another country where they don't know who you are, and you bring a bunch of people that don't speak Spanish, and it's like, no, the common language is loving people and helping people. So it's pretty cool. Sounds very hippie-ish, but it's cool.
No, for sure. And then December 1st, I usually have a big scholarship foundation dinner. We decided not to do that just because it's been hard to get a place. So we're going to have a large boxing event where the proceeds...
I'm not boxing.
You're not boxing, yeah. It's going to be a battle of the badges. So the cops say boxing. One of them is the next Fresno State football player, Donovan Lewis. But the great thing about this, a big portion, I'm working Fresno PD. I take care of a lot of law enforcement. We're going to give back either to their foundation, write a donation, or find a way for they can come get recovery, much like our NIL athletes, from our clinic. The story happened with this guy. He's in his 50s, and he was healthy, just burnt out. You look at his blood work, and he's just out of gas. And so we got him going with some cryotherapy and IV, just getting him in that pair, and he just feels amazing. And I said, we need to do this to our law enforcement just really quickly. Some scary statistics. Average civilians have heart attacks at around 65 years old. For law enforcement, it's 46 to 47 years old. In the same age cohort, from 55 to 59, if we have a heart attack at that age, it's a 1.3% chance we're going to die. We're not going to die of a heart attack. Right? We'll keep us alive. Law enforcement, 57% chance they die of a heart attack. Dang. And so if we say we support the blue and this and that, we really got to back them up. And so what I want to do is I want to, just like I do NIL things for the athletes, and I love my athletes, so I'm not talking trash, but when it goes down, I'm not looking for them to back me up. I need the cops, right? And these are all young men, man. You know cops. A lot of them are ex-military veterans.
Ex-athletes, too.
Yeah. What better way to support them than say, we're going to support your recovery, much like the Jose Ramirez, the Quincy's that get to do it at my office. I want to do that. And so a large portion of what we raise that night will go to law enforcement. It's going to be pretty cool.
Sweet.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And no, Tyson's not boxing, right? But
we'll get him in there. We'll get him in a ring somewhere.
Yeah,
I need some practice.
You should have fought at the Fresno Fair.
Oh, you would have tore it up.
I probably could have fought one of those little kids that went out first.
No, you're good. This guy's an athlete. I see the way you move.
But it's different. You know what I mean? Like,
it's all good until you get hit in the face.
Yeah, until you get
but you're
hit
long.
In the
Keep
face.
them distant, right? Yeah.
All right, we're gonna wrap this up with a little fun. So what we do here is 10 questions.
Okay.
You have 1 minute to answer them. And Kenny's going to judge you 0 through 10 about how you'd answer them.
Ooh.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay, I got 1 minute to answer all 10?
You got 1 minute to answer all 10.
He's going to speed read them.
Okay.
So I'm going to read them as fast as I can. Now, reading's difficult for me and Wiggins. So I'm going to do the best I can. Some of them are going to be one-word answers. But you're getting judged on the answer, so make sure you answer it good. You can't just say yes or no. You ready?
Answer it well.
All right. 3, 2, and 1. Other than football, what is your favorite sport?
Basketball.
If you can only eat one thing all day, every day, what would it be?
Ribeye steak.
3 essential foods for survival on a deserted island.
Ribeye steak, mangoes, coconut water.
If you could be any animal, what would you be and why?
Oh, I'm a lion, man. Got to be the king.
Ooh. Favorite non-sports movie?
I just said A Bronx Tale.
Favorite superhero?
Ooh. Spider-Man.
Best recovery anybody can do at home?
Sauna.
Dinner with any sports star, dead or alive, who and what dish?
Wiggins, ribeye steak, Tyson backing me up.
If you were a superhero, what would your superpower be?
Flying.
5 seconds. Is Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift real or just for publicity?
Real.
Ooh.
I had to
just
say,
in the nick of time. 1 second over. It's okay.
I had to say that, our friends from the gym, Britt and Emily, are big Swifties, so I had to say yes on that one.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Dude, that was pretty good. Cause
1 second over, so I'll give it to him.
Yeah.
0 through 10. Now, Kenny's a hard judger.
Ooh,
First of
okay.
all, there are no 10s. It's like
Okay.
a figure skating. What if you get a 10 and then something else comes back later? So 0 through 10, and we do use decimal points because a rookie score is an even score. So, Kenny, 0 through 10, what do you think?
So as he was going through it, it was like I was answering it in my head before he was saying it, and they were pretty spot on.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
where you threw me a little, like, it was like what I would have said for the first like 3 answers. You lost me at coconut water. Okay. You lost me at Spider-Man because the Hulk is, come on.
Oh, the Hulk is a good one.
So I'm gonna say an 8.4.
Wow,
that was good though.
Is that good? Anything in the 8s is outstanding.
All right,
because you threw.
made it,
I thought you were gonna throw out because you're a big avocado guy too.
Yeah.
So I thought you were gonna be like ribeye, avocado, mango, and I was like, I would have been like, all right.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I was trying to think the drink, and I almost said alcohol.
Yeah.
I almost said a beer. I almost said
Wine
a beer,
would
man.
work.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Wine would work.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
That's it, man. Appreciate you stopping by. Follow this man on Instagram. What's your Instagram?
Spelled out Dr.B Fit MD. Yep.
Dr.B Fit. He gives tips, pointers pretty much every single day, shows his workouts. If he can do it, you can do it. Also follow us, 1 Degree TP, Instagram, TikTok, all of that good stuff. We post a lot of good behind the scenes stuff. Like, share, subscribe, and that's it. Go Dogs, right?
Go dogs.
All right.